Factory reset with magnet. A magnet is required to operate the magnetic sensor. The magnetic sensor is located at the top side of the multi-control between the two R's of Interroll label just in front of the rear plate. Magnet. Hold the magnet at the magnetic sensor until the fault is solid. When the magnet is recognized by the magnetic sensor, the fault light is permanently lit. After 1 second, running lights start on the LED bar on the left side of the multi-control. We want to pull the magnet when the LED ends at IO2, and that will let it know that we want to do a factory reset. Then select IO4 to confirm. Factory reset complete.
Now you've reached the point where you're going to need to assign the IP address to the Interroll card. So the first thing you will need to do is go to your Ethernet card settings, the adapter settings, and change your IP address to be in the same subnet as the default settings for the Ethernet card. So in this case, I'm going to change my IP address to be 192.168.0.252. Your IP address can be anything. The last octet in your IP address can be anything aside from 1. So we can use 50 if we would like. Press OK. And now you're going to go to your browser and you're going to type in the default IP address for the Interroll card, 192.168.0.1. That's the factory default IP address for the card out of the box. If you've set up the IP address in your Ethernet card correctly and you have a LAN connection to the IP address card, then you should arrive at this address after typing in the IP address in your browser. The default username is Interroll with a capital I, and that is the same password as well, INTERROLL. Submit. And you will get access to the Interroll settings. So to assign the IP address, you're going to go to Network Settings. In this case, we're using Ethernet IP. And for this project, our new IP address is going to be 192.168.200.215. The network mask will stay the same at 255, 255, 255.0, and no gateway address or 0000. And that should be everything. You should be under static configuration mode and everything else should be default. And you're going to come to the bottom right and click on Submit. And then it's going to give you a message telling you that for these changes to take place, you'll need to restart the multi-control card. So I usually go ahead and hit yes and submit, and that should reset your card. Now when you do this, your card's gonna lose its factory default IP address, and now it's gonna go to our new IP address, which in this case is 192.168.200.215. So in order to gain access to your new IP, the card with the new IP address, you're gonna need to go back to your computer's adapter and change your IP address so the octet complies, so the third octet complies with your new address. So now we're at 192.168.200.50. And now that we've assigned the new IP address to the Interroll card, we're going to go back to our browser and type in the new IP address, 192.168.200.215. And if everything's been done correctly up to this point, we should recognize this address as a credible address, and it is. And here's the new address we've assigned. And we have the same username and password, Interroll and Interroll. Submit. And now you gain access to the settings for that Interroll card. So your IO should be communicating with that Interroll card, and that should be everything you need to do up until this point, unless your application has specific settings inside the card, such as disabled motors or reverse motors. So here's where you're gonna set all those settings, and that should be everything. Thank you for watching.